I couldn't believe this when I actually heard about this case that kind of just closed itself down in Georgia with Ms. Hannah Payne. Oh, man. That thing blew my mind. That lady right there on the right is Hannah Payne. Here's what Miss Hannah Payne did. Miss Hannah Payne rolled up to an accident that she actually saw. It was an individual who was 62 years old. Oh, about the same age as me, merely. And so this dude was having a diabetic episode unbeknownst to Ms. Payne. And he ran a red light. He collided with a truck. They called the police. Multiple people stopped for this particular situation. Of course, Ms. Payne, they say she wanted to be a police officer. So Ms. Payne, she just knew everything. So she knew the guy was going to go. Well, believe it or not, the guy did go. And then his car is all bashed up and so on and so forth. They ride a couple miles. That car ain't going too far. She chases them like a bat out of whatever. Gets up to the guy's car. What actually happens is she cuts the guy off on the road. And then instead of like the guy stopping because she cut him off, guy just runs the car into him. I mean, he's having a diabetic moment. What else would he do? That's what he did. So she gets out of the car and just runs up to the car and tells him this and tells him that. Specifically tells him to get out of the car, you MFer. And then the next thing they know, she shot him. And she's saying, oh, now you need an ambulance. So that's the base story. I got a lot of pieces on her. She's foolish enough to actually testify on her own behalf, which, that's a no-no. But here's a 911 call. Let's get started with Miss Sarah, wherever she is. Here's a 911 call. Not that one, but this one. And let's go. And then there you go. So this lady was like, this happened in like a metro Atlanta. During rush hour, by the way. It's coming up.
Hey, we have an accident up here by Clark House and Forest Parkway. Clark House and Forest Parkway. It's a truck.
It's always kind of hard getting started. I don't know why that.
Unfortunately, vehicle, and I'm looking at the guy now. He's pretty good. He's moving and everything. But we got
was that lady vaping? Vehicle. You think she was vaping? Notice that in the background.
And
let me rewind that. Was that lady vaping?
Clark House and Forest Parkway. Clark House and Forest Parkway. It's a truck. Unfortunately.
Is that a vape she's getting ready to put up in her mouth? It'll stop the choppiness in a second. I don't know why that's doing that. It's the airways.
Vehicle, and I'm looking at the guy now. He's pretty good. He's moving and everything. But we got a truck that's had an incident with a vehicle.
Wonder what she was putting in her mouth just a second ago.
Clark House and Forest Parkway.
What kind of truck is it?
It's a semi-tractor trailer and it's a pickup truck.
All right.
Yeah.
Tell you what, you better correct yourself before I wreck you.
Yeah, very cold.
Okay, does it say that you want to try to insert?
But do you need assistance? You get an ambulance? Sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But
Okay. You need an ambulance?
so yeah, that's the lady that just rolled up on that man, just shot him.
Very good. So you okay? Yeah.
Okay, is he saying that he needs assistance? He needs an ambulance or no?
All right. Sir, do you need assistance? You need an ambulance, okay? Well, I mean, you with this, well, are you okay?
We have a reason around for this.
That's real nice. I didn't ask for all that.
I'm gonna say the officer. I
Oh,
was
man.
GDC. So, yeah, that's 540.
Is any airbags
She was there. She was there. Nah, still there.
I'm sorry.
No, man, I'm talking to the gentleman who drives the tractor trailer truck. And he was the car was working in. You don't even know what happened. He fell asleep. But if you can be here today, don't start it. Don't start it. It's smoking. Sir, this spot right there, right there.
So anyway, the man's having a hard time because he's having a like some type of diabetic attack or something of that nature.
I saw from the car coming.
You can look that one up on the internet, and if you look at the car, the grill is like
Okay, sir.
there is no grill in that particular car when he was driving it before he hit her.
That's okay, thank you.
And if this keeps chopping up, we will come back another time because that's how we do things, right or not at all. And sometimes the internet's hot at this time of day.
Clinton County 911, what is the location of your emergency?
Clark Howell and Forest Parkway. We had a call earlier, and it's been over like 20 minutes now, and no police or no ambulance have shown up at this location. And like I said, it's a ball, a red Dakota, and a semi-tractor truck. And none has showed up at this moment in time.
Okay, I just took a call. We already have someone on the way.
The reason why I'm asking that because the driver who caused the accident, I think he's impaired. Something's going on with him, and so the thing about we're trying to tell him is turn his vehicle off of the smoke, and he's not following.
Yeah, let me stop that just for a second so I can catch up. So yeah, this wannabe police officer that you're looking at, this is one of the reasons why if you decide that you want to carry, that's one thing. It's another thing to carry and then decide that you're an appointed officer, because that doesn't always work so well. There's tons and tons of cases of that, and that's actually what happened. And one of the reasons why it doesn't work so well is because the people aren't trained to do what it is they're trying to do. So basically, she's not really trained. So what she thought was drunk was the man actually having an episode. So the last call that you heard was basically a corrections officer calling in when she's still under the impression that the man is drunk.
The man. So that's why I'm asking to see what if he's moving his fear. He's going to drive off now. He's driving off. He's driving off. Take a picture of the driving light. Take a picture quick. He's driving off. He's driving off.
Where's he going towards?
Yeah, he's heading towards Riverdale Road. Upper Riverdale Road. That's where he's heading.
What kind of vehicle is it? Is
He's
that
in
the
the
red
red
Dakota?
Dakota. Get out the road, sir. Get out the road. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up.
What's the tag number?
Red Dakota, front end damage to the Red Dakota. Did you get a picture of the driver like the tag? Oh, man. Let's get out the road. Get out the road. He's headed.
I hate that choppiness. I don't know why it's doing that. Probably rush hour over here.
Towards Riverdale Road, heading towards 285 area. Riverdale Road. He's heading west on Forest Parkway towards the area.
Give me one.
Okay, good. Go. Now the other driver who was and she's going to take a picture of the yeah, he's fled. He's an African American. Two vehicles. His vehicle and the truck. The truck is still here. The driver, the truck is still here. And so step out the road. Just step out the road, please. So he's in a red Dakota. It's a 96 model, give or take 97 model. He has he's an older black gentleman, gray hair, blue shirt on, and front end damage. Heavily front end damage in front. Heavily front end. I knew he was going to do something.
Yeah, they just knew he was going to do something. She knew he was going to do something. And what was bad is that the corrections officer, his version of the man doing something was that the man was doing something because he was having some kind of medical episode. At the same time, right along with her, she's interpreting everything as well as what that man is interpreting as the man is under the influence and that the man is trying to run.
If I was in uniform, I would have picked a you, but I didn't. So.
Okay. Tell you what.
He's heading towards that area. If we get a policeman up that way, I know traffic. I know there's an incident up that way. Hopefully, that there's another officers on that see him.
Give me one moment.
I know it's RHA 5933. There it was. RHA 5933. RHA 5933.
I got it. Robert Henry Adams 5933.
Yes. It's okay. She got it. It's all good. Yeah.
Okay. So now they already have the tag number. Just so you understand how ridiculous this is. She didn't have nothing to do with that accident. She took it on her own to carry it further.
The lady in the Jeep was almost in the residence, so she turned around and she went after him. So she's going to take a picture of his vehicle and stuff. Can't you believe it? I knew there was something wrong with it, guy. I knew it. God. This is crazy. Yeah. Well, you're not going to get far. This truck going to overheat. His truck is going to overheat.
Yeah, his
okay,
car
ma'am,
is
you
like
have my
in bad
number.
shape.
Anything, y'all
I'll
can hit
pull
me
up
back,
a
but I'm here with the driver of the truck, the semi-truck, and everything. So my number, you have it.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right.
The state will now republish the defendant's 911 calls, which were states.
They're getting ready to publish her calls, which this is like ridiculous. They tell her not to chase them people, but she does it anyway.
Clayton County 911. What is the location of your emergency?
Yes, ma'am. I'm actually on Forest Parkway and Clark Howell Highway. And there was just an accident. I'm sure.
When I get a chance, I'll rewind it so that you can see that lady.
they've already called, but I just witnessed it, and I just wanted to make sure that I guess, called the police as well in case they didn't.
All right. Were they on? What were the kind of vehicles involved?
It's a red Dodge pickup truck. I think it's a Dakota, and a semi was involved. And the red Dakota ran the red light and slammed into the side of the semi.
It doesn't look like we received any reports on it yet. I'll go ahead and put in a call here.
Okay.
Red Dakota. And were they on Forest Parkway or on Clark Howell?
The semi and I were turning left onto Forest Parkway, and the Dakota was going west on Forest Parkway.
Oh, okay. And what's your name?
My name is Hannah, Hannah. Last name.
Now, it's all cool in the gang right now, but it's getting ready to get kind of hot. And what you're not going to hear in the 911 call that was heard in various testimony is that right before this, she's going to actually, let's say, make contact with that man, and she'll actually make contact with that man in that call. Right before that happened, there were multiple people that had seen her like weaving in and out of lanes. Two of the people were actually friends that called each other and said that lady almost hit her. So she actually, decided to take it on her own and just went into total maniac mode, as you'll probably be able to observe momentarily.
Name is Payne, Payne.
And what's your callback number?
470-512-1847.
We appreciate you calling this in. We'll get someone out there and try to assist them.
Okay,
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Now, I don't know if you heard it, and this is, why I do this. This is one of the nice things about commentary is that, you get to rewind it and so forth. And one of the things I just heard is, if you noticed, it was almost like a balloon that they let the air out of. She felt, it seemed a little dejected, like she wanted something big to happen, and it was like something big wasn't happening, and she was like, "Oh, okay, listen."
Get someone out there and try to assist them.
Okay,
Thank you. Bye-bye. Get someone out there and try to assist them.
Okay,
Thank you.
I mean, because if you listen to the tone of her voice, like a little bit before that, listen.
Oh, okay. And what's your name?
My name is Hannah.
Hear all that energy?
Last name is Payne, Payne.
And what's your callback number?
470.
All that confidence, boy. She going for it. She's full.
We appreciate
right?
you calling this in. We'll get someone out there and try to assist them.
Okay.
Thank you.
All the air let out. So she had to make up for that. And here we go.
County 911, what's the location
It's on now.
of your emergency? Yes, ma'am. I'm on Clark Howell and Forest Parkway, the intersection. I actually called about 20 minutes ago for an accident, and no one has...
Yeah, how dare you, Mr. Policeman, not respond to my call? I already called. Now, you don't understand. As I go into this commentary, there's a closing. And if you get a chance to hear the closing, there's a pretty good line that the prosecutor uses about where she got her authority from. And she's on that authority at this moment.
I actually called about 20 minutes ago for
How dare
an
you?
accident, and no one has
How
shown up yet.
dare you not show
but
up for
I
me?
am under the impression that the guy that caused the accident, who ran the red light,
I'm
is
under the
drunk.
impression.
And
you know what? My impression is greater than anybody else's impression on this planet.
I am under the impression that the guy that caused the accident, who ran the red light, is drunk.
I'm under the impression.
And he's gotten back in his car, and looking like he's trying to drive away.
Okay, can you get his tag number?
Hold on. He's driving
Yeah,
away. It's a red Dodge Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
1 second. Hold on.
oh, she's running back to her Jeep, man. If we weren't having so much problems with the choppiness, I would pull up a picture for you, but I don't even want to risk fooling around with this given the choppiness we're experiencing.
Go straight. Okay, so he is going west, down Clark House. No, I'm sorry, down Forest Parkway.
Okay, so you couldn't get a tag number?
No, but I'm catching up to him right now.
I got a
Okay,
tag.
we actually
Robert.
do not want you to chase him. We just want you to be safe. And it's
I
not
understand.
to chase him.
Okay. I'm sorry. I got in your way.
No, I'm sorry, down Forest Parkway.
Okay, so you couldn't get a tag number?
No, but I'm catching up to him right now.
Okay, ma'am, we actually do not want you to chase him. We just want you to be safe. And it's
I
not
understand.
to chase him.
I understand 100%. I'm just going to get the tag number, if nothing else. But I am going west down Forest Parkway.
Okay, that's one time she was told not to keep following this count, because that becomes critical as you pay attention to the case. If I forget, you tell me.
Up to him. I mean, his radiator is busted and everything. I honestly have no idea how he's driving the truck the way that it is. Okay. It is a Georgia tag. License plate is RHA as in Apple 4859.
Okay.
That ain't even the tag number
If
we
you
just
can go
got,
back
wasn't
to that location where the incident happened, it's because someone is actually on the way to you guys now.
Okay, well, there's a police officer there, but he is drunk. I'm sorry, but I'm here to tell you I'm not going to follow him because he is going to cause another accident. So I will stay behind him until an officer can get to us, but until then, I'm not moving.
Yeah, no, that's what I want. I want
Okay.
you guys to go back to
What actually happened right there was she clearly showed her defiance. And these are things that they're using as evidence against her. Because, like, they feel that she was like
I'm sorry.
a visual anti-murderer, basically.
I'm here to tell you I'm not going to follow him because he is going to cause another accident. So I will stay behind him until an officer can get to us, but until then, I'm not moving.
Yeah, no, that's what I want. I want you guys to go back to the location where it happened, and an officer will be out there momentarily, okay?
So, again, she was asked to go back. That's the second time.
Ma'am. Ma'am. follow him?
He hit my car!
Okay, you got the tag number.
There's a police officer down the street. Tell them to come up here now. He pulled the trigger on my gun after he attacked me. Tell the police officers to turn around from the 285 entrance and come up here immediately.
She sounds like she in charge over there, don't she? Because that's actually why she's going to jail. Just so, you know, we're on the same page.
And now he needs paramedics. I'm safe, but he ain't.
See that line actually, that line she just said right there. They use that in court on her. I'm safe, but he ain't. Here we go.
And now he needs paramedics. I'm safe, but he ain't. Can you say? You say what happened?
I apologize. She said she's safe, but he isn't. I mean, I think that's pretty much it for her. She's doing a whole lot of crying. I think somebody else called. But yeah, that's what we got. We got people out there with guns. You know, I know we believe in having guns in America, but we got people out there with guns shooting people because they feel that they have the authority to just follow somebody without training, and they know better than anybody else as to what's going on. They bang on the people's door. And then after the people probably reacted a little bit by banging on the door, now you got a situation where she shoots a person. See, you're going to hear momentarily how that doesn't work like that. This prosecutor that I'm going to run this tape on, I mean, if you're looking at this, obviously you appreciate law and crime and justice and order and all that stuff like that. This next closing argument on her is the best closing argument I've heard in like 20 years of watching these these court cases on TV. I don't know. I may be watching 30. And the reason being is because she explains it so clearly what that lady did that you can't help but to convict her. And it's going to be 33 minutes of her and then maybe 4 minutes of me. But this is the best.
Give its closing argument.
There's not a better one. She spells it out.
I mean, not that it has anything to do with it, but my entire life until I was 18 and my grandfather passed away, I was going to be a police officer.
That's what she wrote.
And on May 7, 2019,
there she is. There's
she
the
got
picture.
her opportunity. And as a result, 62-year-old Kenneth Herring, who was unarmed.
Oh, I cheated you. Sorry. That happens sometimes. Sorry about that. Let's go here for you. There we go. and then I get discooperation. Okay.
The state will now give its closing argument.
This is what she wrote.
I mean, not that it has anything to do with it, but my entire life until I was 18 and my grandfather passed away, I was going to be a police officer. And on May 7, 2019, she got her opportunity. And as a result, 62-year-old Kenneth Herring, who was unarmed and minding his own business, was chased down, detained, shot, and murdered by this defendant. And how do we know she shot him?
She said it.
Because we watched Officer Rich's body cam. And when he asked, who shot Mr. Herring? She said, I did. And you don't get the death penalty for committing a traffic infraction.
It's not how it works in America.
And you know how much entitlement you have to chase somebody down, detain them, jump out your car, and run toward a stranger. He didn't know her. He didn't know why she was approaching his car, and demand that they do anything. He didn't have to listen to her.
And actually, without me doing a whole bunch of talking, as you listen to her closing, she's actually going to describe the entire case too.
He didn't have to do anything, she said. As he continued to ask her, who are you? And the audacity to come here and take that stand and blame everybody else. Now, before I jump into all the...
Now, as you're watching this, it's always going to be interesting to watch this defense attorney's face. This, I think, is a relative right here. He's a relative of the victim. It's always going to be interesting watching his face because as a defense attorney, his opportunity to talk is over. So he can't really say so much about some of this stuff. So you're going to see him getting red at the face because of the fact that he's basically hopeless.
The facts and all the evidence that you heard today. I want to talk a little bit about what your duties are. You're to be a fair and impartial juror, honestly seeking the truth. In the purpose of the jury trial system.
Now, I would be remiss in my duty. I would be remiss in my job if I didn't say that's a very rather unique haircut on that prosecutor.
System is to seek the truth. Not to seek doubt, it's to seek the truth. You have a duty to follow the law, and you are bound by the instructions and the law given to you by the judge. Now, you shouldn't consider anything that's outside this circle. Passion, public opinion, dislike of the police, any sentiment, sentencing, prejudice, penalty and punishment, conjecture, whether you disagree with the law or if you have any sympathy for the defendant. The only thing.
And that's something good to see, like for anybody to see that, you know, this is the place where they ask the jurors to go. And that's a place that we don't go all the time. So it is a pretty huge duty that the juries do.
You should consider is the law, the elements of the crime that I'm going to discuss with you, any testimony that you heard during this trial, any expert testimony, and you will determine the credibility of the witnesses, any photos, any audio, any videos that you saw, the physical evidence, and your common sense. We don't ask that you leave your common sense at the door, and any corroboration. Now, you do have a duty to deliberate. And if a juror refuses to deliberate or discuss with the other jurors the evidence or the law, you may bring this to the attention of the judge. Now, let's talk about some legal principles. Now, you heard a lot about the presumption of innocence. Now, the presumption only exists until it is overcome by the evidence. So once you believe the defendant committed the offenses as alleged in the indictment beyond a reasonable doubt, the presumption is gone. Now, the state does have the burden to prove every material allegation in the indictment beyond a reasonable doubt.
I mean, she's given a clinic.
And we take that burden very seriously. Now, let's talk about reasonable doubt. Reasonable doubt is not proof to a mathematical certainty or proof beyond all doubt or absolute certainty. There's no number. It is beyond the doubt of a fair-minded, impartial juror honestly seeking the truth. And it is based on common sense and reason. Now, there are two types of evidence. You have direct evidence and circumstantial evidence.
Circumstantial.
Direct evidence points immediately to the question at issue.
Yeah. I'll let you look at that a little bit. She's probably going to explain it. But, you know, perhaps you look at these types of things all the time. So let that soak in for you for a second.
So, for example, any witnesses that testified based on things they saw, things they heard, things they smelled, tasted, anything of that nature, that's direct evidence. Circumstantial evidence is proof of facts or circumstances by direct evidence from which you may infer other related or connected facts that are reasonable and justified in light of your experience. For example, the DNA.
Oh, don't forget to like or subscribe to the channel.
When you learned that the major contributor on that firearm,
cops, criminals,
was a female, and it was identified as the defendant.
Joey is the name of the.
Now, the law does not favor one type of evidence over the other, so it is up to you how you weigh that evidence.
Criminals, jailbirds, and Joey.
Now,
what a combination.
You may consider the personal credibility of any witness that took the stand. And it may have been shown in their presence and by the evidence. So this applies to the defendant as well.
And if you didn't go to law school and you wanted to know certain factors about self-defense, and if you're a gun owner like that lady was, and you want to understand things about how it works, just pay attention to this prosecutor. She'll clarify all that for you.
What was their demeanor? Did they have any reason to lie? Did the facts they testified to match the evidence? Was there any corroboration? And is what they say believable? Now, we presented several eyewitnesses. That Attorney Tucker discussed. And you heard direct evidence based on things they saw and what they observed on May 7, 2019. Now, even though Attorney Tucker tried to twist their words,
I guess that must be Attorney Tucker. She ain't mind calling him out. Did you notice that? She did not mind calling him out. So let's look at his face for a second.
That Attorney Tucker discussed. And you heard direct evidence based on things they saw and what they observed on May 7, 2019. Now, even though Attorney Tucker tried to twist their words, misquote their statements, they all stood firm in what they saw. And what was consistent between Ms. McCraney, Ms. Rosser, Ms. Jackson, and Mr. Williams was that there was only one aggressor on May 7, 2019. And that was the defendant. Now, you heard testimony from the defendant yesterday. And, she stated that she never heard 911 tell her to not chase. And then when I went through her testimony.
Now remember what you just finished hearing.
And the transcript of the 911 call, they told her 4 different times.
Times.
Twice to go back to the incident location. And they told her not to follow him. But she said based on her perception and what she believed they meant was that she should follow him as long as she remained safe. Now, it is for you to decide whether there is a reasonable explanation for any inconsistency in the witness's pretrial statements and testimony when compared to the same witness's trial testimony. You are to consider all the facts and circumstances of any prior statements. You, the jury, must apply your common sense and your reason to decide what testimony you believe or do not believe.
So Sarah, Hannah.
Now, it's not a memory contest.
She's kind of on the hot seat. Pay attention to her.
These events happened nearly 4 years ago. And the witnesses got on the stand and they testified to what they remembered that happened on May 7, 2019. And for the most part, they gave you everything. Now you can imagine, if you went to a wedding and, you went to the wedding, you told your mother, the bride's dress was beautiful, the food was good, and you told your dad, they had a great open bar. The DJ was real nice. And you told your friend, the invitations that we received, they were just beautiful. Now, you may not have told each one of them all the details, specific details of what happened at the wedding, but what was consistent amongst the story is that what?
Yeah,
I went to a wedding. And all of the witnesses were very consistent. That on May 7, 2019, Tiana McCraney advised you that she observed the defendant travel around Mr. Henry's vehicle and block him in. She stated that the traffic on that day was very congested on Riverdale Road. It wasn't moving.
She blocked him in.
And when I asked her,
then
was there any way after she blocked his vehicle in and detained him, could he get around her? Could he move in any way? And she said no.
The state will know.
For him to get out of the car and cursing at him. Now, when you watch the defendant's interview, she never mentions to the detectives at any point in time that she yelled at him, that she screamed at him, and that she demanded that he get out of the vehicle. Her characterization was, I walked up to the car, I held the phone, and I said, I have 911 on the phone, and they want you to go back to the scene. And that all of a sudden, the victim just became very irate, grabbing her and pulling her into the car. And that's not what any of the witnesses saw.
She was yelling.
And you also heard from Miss Rosser.
As you heard on the tape anyway.
Who advised that she saw the defendant outside of Mr. Herring's vehicle punching him, being very aggressive, screaming and yelling. And you also heard from Miss Jackson, who notified you that as she was leaving work, as she made a left onto Forest Parkway, that she noticed the defendant's Jeep come flying down Forest Parkway, almost running her off the road, and other vehicles off the road, swerving in and out of traffic, which is ironic because she stated the only reason she was trying to get Mr. Herring pulled over because he was going to harm other drivers on the road. She wanted other people to be safe. And then when she caught up to Riverdale Road, Miss Jackson got up to Riverdale Road, she noticed that the defendant here, had caused an accident. She didn't.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine you're riding down the road just, and then all of a sudden It was whoo, 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 whoo. This lady comes whoo, 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 bah, 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 and then okay, whatever. And then you see the car up yonder in the accident. You know what I'm saying? That's what was up.
Didn't know that she had cut Mr. Herring off and pulled in front of him. But what she did know was that she just observed her driving very irately. And so she pulled over because she was interested in seeing what happened. And what she saw was the defendant very aggressively banging on what she thought was Mr. Herring's window. But then what she realized was that she was actually punching him inside of the vehicle. And what Miss Rosser and Miss Jackson remembered was her pulling that firearm. And when she pulled the firearm, she pointed the firearm in the vehicle. And what they recall is that she immediately shot.
That adrenaline was high with that lady, boy. She was driving like a fool, driving all up on curves.
Now, the testimony of a single witness is sufficient
to wonder she didn't pit the man. Pursuit intervention technique where they knocked the car and had the car spinning all over the place. She was what was she? She was under the authority of audacity, I believe.
So if you believe Tiana McCraney and you believe that she observed the defendant pull around Mr. Herring's vehicle and block him in, detaining him, then that's sufficient to establish that fact. Now, the law provides that criminal action shall be tried in the county where the crime was committed. And we did submit to you that this occurred on Riverdale Road and Forest Parkway, which is located in Clayton County, Georgia.
All right. Now, I have been kind of getting in your way, and that does happen. But what you're going to see as this prosecutor goes on, I mean, she's actually going to do all the math that's necessary for the convictions, starting with the location that she just gave us.
Where the crime was committed. And we did submit to you that this occurred on Riverdale Road and Forest Parkway, which is located in Clayton County, Georgia. Now let's talk about the charges. And this is where we will get into details about the facts and the evidence that was presented to you. The defendant is charged in count 1 with malice murder.
Look at all them charges.
Felony murder. Count 3, aggravated assault. Count 4, felony murder. Count 5, false imprisonment. And count 6 through 8, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony.
Now, like I said, this lady's going to give you a clinic like I ain't never seen. That if that was your sister, you'd be convicting her.
Now, I know there was only one death in this case, and we've charged 3 counts of murder. Now, the state of Georgia allows us to charge murder in various ways. And you don't have to pick one. If you believe that the state has presented sufficient evidence to prove that she committed counts 1, count 2, and count 4 beyond a reasonable doubt, you can enter a verdict on all of those counts. You don't have to choose one. Now let's talk about malice murder. Malice murder is when a person with malice aforethought unlawfully causes the death of another human being. Now, what is malice? Malice is the unlawful intention to kill without justification, excuse, or mitigation. Its malicious intent can be formed in a moment, so it doesn't require premeditation. It can be formed in a moment, and it does not require ill will or hatred towards another.
Like I said, she's giving a clinic.
An intent may be shown in many ways. It can be inferred from the proven circumstances or by acts and conduct, or it may be inferred when it is the natural and necessary consequence of the act.
Watch the lawyer's face.
If you pull out a gun and point it at somebody,
it's getting redder, isn't it?
Then you fire that firearm, then the natural and necessary consequence
getting redder,
is that they may die.
Look at Hannah's arms. Look at
Now,
Hannah's arm. It's tight, boy.
we
And if
believe,
you watch her
and we
feet,
believe
they
we
should be
submitted to
tight
you, that
too.
the defendant acted with malice when she chased Mr. Herring's vehicle in her Jeep. She cut off Mr. Herring's vehicle with her Jeep on Riverdale Road, cornering him in, blocking his ability to move, detaining him. When she jumped out of her Jeep in an aggressive manner, immediately runs up to Mr. Herring's driver's side door, screaming, cursing, and demanding him to get out the car, motherfucker. She tells Mr. Herring that
What did she say?
in an aggressive manner, immediately runs up to Mr. Herring's driver's side door, screaming, cursing, and demanding him to get out the car, motherfucker. She tells Mr. Herring that she will shoot him. She draws her firearm from her waist. She racks the slide with 2 hands, and she shoots him. And you heard on the 911 call, you heard her say, "You hit my car." And she says that right before she shoots. Now, she's also charged with felony murder. Now, when a person, while committing
this felony murder, actually, for people that watch some of these videos but don't watch a lot of these videos, a lot of people don't understand how felony murder works. And that's when you do one crime that's a felony, and then that crime that you did, even though you didn't intend to kill anybody, but you committed one crime, and that crime resulted in somebody dying. Like you going to rob something and then somebody dies.
a felony causes the death of another human being, irrespective of malice. So, aggravated assault, which is a felony, plus a death caused during the aggravated assault equals felony murder. So there's no intent to kill. Intent to kill for this count is irrelevant. It's not required. So
she's like, you don't even need to worry about what her mindset is. That ain't got nothing to do with her being charged on this one.
A person commits an aggravated assault when she assaults another person with a deadly weapon. And no injury is required for you to find the defendant guilty on this count. And what is an assault? An assault is when a person attempts to cause a violent injury to the victim or intentionally commits an act that places the victim in a reasonable fear of immediately receiving a violent injury.
And also, people pulling guns out inappropriately on other people, that's considered, I'm not laughing, that's considered aggravated assault. Hitting somebody with a car is aggravated assault.
And a deadly weapon, a firearm, when used the way a firearm is ordinarily used, is a deadly weapon, and that's as a matter of law. Now, the evidence that we submitted to you for the felony murder charge for aggravated assault is the defendant pointing a firearm at Mr. Herring, placing him in reasonable fear of receiving a violent injury. And as a result, shooting Mr. Herring, causing a gunshot wound to his abdomen, which the medical examiner told you caused his death. So in the commission of committing an aggravated assault, Mr. Herring died. Felony murder.
Boom.
Intent not required.
You didn't even have to intend it. Yeah. That's the scene, folks, in the background there. I'll show it to you again, make it worth your while. Yep. She rode up all fast and everything like that, and this is kind of how it ended.
Intent not required.
Yeah. She got that adrenaline running. There's another shot of it. She was
And we know
21
the
years
defendant
old at
committed an
the time.
aggravated assault because you watched the video.
21 years old at the time.
And you watched her in this video shoot Mr. Herring. Now, when the defendant pulls a firearm and she pointed it at Mr. Herring,
that's about aggravated.
Then he reasonably believed in that moment that he would receive a serious injury. And therefore, the aggravated assault was complete.
Right there, pointing it.
And count 4, she's charged with felony murder for the crime and felony of false imprisonment.
Blocking his vehicle.
Once again, intent to kill for this count is irrelevant. And a person commits false imprisonment when she, in violation of the personal liberty of another, unlawfully detains another without legal authority.
Yeah, you know, when you pull your car in front of somebody in a parking lot because they're in a space you don't like, you might not want to try that because I guess that would be false imprisonment. You're preventing their movement without authority other than the authority of audacity.
Now, if you recall, when the defendant was on the stand yesterday, she did not want to state that she.
So that's. I'm gonna stop that for a second. That's the accident picture I was looking for. So basically, she figured out a way to kind of cut him off, and then he was in bad shape as it was because he was having a diabetic situation. So instead of him just stopping, he just ran into her. And she probably didn't give him much room anyway. So what you see in the front here is the original damage from that first accident. And I just noticed it on this one, and I'm not gonna magnify it, but it's an incredible. The bald head on these tires is like. This is like drag racing tires. I didn't notice that until just now. It's kind of incredible. I wouldn't magnify it, but I don't know how to do it in such a way that would not mess up the technology. But yeah, that's a serious bald head tire she riding around with. I guess she spent the money that she needed for tires on a gun. Guess that's what happened. Anyway.
Block Mr. Herring's vehicle in. But this is what you see in this photo.
And then I didn't really get into it because I focused so much on this one, but that gives you another vantage point. So she's really off the hook here because you got people able to take a picture of this from both directions, and I think both of these pictures are car pictures taken from people and not necessarily law enforcement generated.
And that's what you heard on her interview when she said, I found an opportunity and I pulled in front of him and I stopped him. So once she blocked his vehicle in and blocked his access, blocked his movement, the false imprisonment was complete. She had no legal authority to do this. She's
okay. And also, I'm just going to come back on it again. I've seen this done before in real life with people. I remember a lady blocked me in one time, and then she wanted to call the tow truck, but I was getting ready to call the police, but she didn't know what caliber of driver I was. So I just backed up on the curve and the grass and just drove down the sidewalk and came off the curve on the other end and told her to have a nice day.
Not post certified. She's not a police officer. She has no arrest powers.
All right, let me go back because I got
opportunity. And I pulled in front of him and I stopped him. So once she blocked his vehicle in and blocked his access, blocked his movement, the false imprisonment was complete. She had no legal authority to do this. She's not post-certified. She's not a police officer. She has no arrest powers. Nobody legally told her to stop Mr. Henry's vehicle. And you heard a lot of talk from the defense attorney that he could have jumped up the curb and drove down the sidewalk. There was no duty for Mr. Henry to retreat. And as you heard Ms. Jackson say, who drives on sidewalks? So the felony murder in count 4 was complete when the defendant cornered him, restricted his movement, detained him without any legal authority. And during that false imprisonment, he was shot by the defendant, again causing a gunshot wound to his abdomen, which caused his death. False imprisonment was complete. Felony murder. Now, count 6 through 8, in possession of a firearm in the commission of a felony, is when a person unlawfully has on his person a firearm while committing a felony. And we submit to you that in the commission of the false imprisonment, in the commission of the aggravated assault, and in the commission of the malice murder, the defendant was in possession with the firearm. And you saw that in the photo. Murder is a felony, aggravated assault is a felony, and false imprisonment is a felony. Now, this is one of the most important parts to remember as you deliberate. A person is,
and this is if you're staying with us, just because you're staying with us. And the reason that I did this is because this lady's breaking it down for you. Because just because she's talking about Georgia, this is like universal law. And if you want to carry, there's a level of responsibility that comes with it. And they tell you, don't get into stuff. Don't go looking for trouble, because it might find you. And in this case, it found her. And when you start trouble, even though you're carrying, you totally relinquish the right to do something. So in other words, I can be armed, and I can walk up to anybody and hit them. And when they come at me, there's really nothing I can do, because anything I do, I'm going to be charged with. Because I've given up my right to protect myself when I committed the crime or when I started something. You can't start something and end something with a weapon. And that's cowardly anyway, but legally, it's not going to fly. So don't convince yourself, like she did, like George Zimmerman did, like Michael Dunn did, like Michael Draca did. Don't convince yourself that it's going to be okay, because it isn't. Here's an example.
justified in using deadly force, force which is intended or likely to cause death or great bodily harm, only if she reasonably believes that such force is necessary to prevent death or great bodily injury to herself or a third person, or to prevent the commission of a forcible felony. Reasonable belief doesn't just mean whether the defendant believed it. The question is whether it was reasonable for her to believe it. Would a reasonable person believe it under the circumstances that you've heard in this case.
That it's okay to pull a gun out on a 62-year-old man and you're 20-something years old and the man's having a diabetic attack.
Was it necessary? To be entitled to self-defense, the defendant must have needed to use this force to protect herself from an imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury or a forcible felony. The problem here is that a person is not justified in using force in self-defense if she is the initial aggressor. The defendant was...
I hope you heard what the state's attorney in Georgia said. And you could kind of be sure that she's kind of a senior prosecutor, because senior prosecutors do murder cases. She said the same thing I just finished saying. You're not justified in using force if you are the initial aggressor. Then watch what happens when you're the initial aggressor. The defendant was the initial aggressor and therefore is not entitled to self-defense.
Was the initial aggressor and therefore is not entitled to self-defense. So, whatever Mr. Herring did, once the defendant cornered him, aggressively approached his vehicle, and pulled out that firearm, doesn't matter. He was within every right he had to do whatever he did to defend himself. Because there was only one person on May 7, 2019 that was entitled to defend themselves, and it wasn't the defendant.
Yeah, I told you she spells it out. Watch this.
Once again, the defendant is not justified in threatening or using force if she provokes the threat or use of force against him or herself, intending to use that threat or force as an excuse to harm the other person, is committing a felony. False imprisonment is a felony. So
again, thinking you're all that, taking your vehicle and blocking somebody with your car, it's false imprisonment. And you might want to be careful about blocking doorways, especially when your stature is greater than the person who's trying to get through the doorway.
So once the false imprisonment was complete, when she blocked his vehicle and blocked his access, she was committing a felony. And if you are committing a felony, you are not entitled to self-defense.
Did you hear what the prosecutor said? I'll let you hear it again.
Once the false imprisonment was complete, when she blocked his vehicle and blocked his access, she was committing a felony. And if you are committing a felony, you are not entitled to self-defense.
Okay, you gotta understand that. Rolling up to people, going in people's houses, not paying attention to boundaries, doing what you want to do. Sometimes it takes the entitlement away.
And once again, if you are the initial aggressor.
And that's a bad thing if you do that and then the other person really is like a bad person, right?
Unless she withdraws from the encounter and clearly communicates to the other person her intent to withdraw, and the other person continues or threatens to continue the use of unlawful force. To allow an armed aggressor who confronts an unarmed, non-threatening victim to claim self-defense when the victim struggles to disarm the aggressor is contrary to common sense and contrary to law.
I think that's another word for that. It's ludicrous And unfortunately, she thought it might fly that way. And once she cut that man off and he hit that car, it was time for her to get the wake up call and say, "This has gone too far." And just chill right there. Stayed in the car and cool down. And that's, I think, what people need to learn how to do, especially if they're going to carry. They need to learn how to calm themselves down in situations, because this is a life changing situation. She's 21 years old. We'll get into the outcome as we go. I'm going to let you know what happened before you look it up. She's going to jail.
On May 7, 2019, you heard testimony from Terry Robinson. There was an initial accident that occurred on Clark Howell. You heard testimony that accident did not involve this defendant.
Didn't involve her. She ain't had nothing to do with it.
Contact with the defendant. There was no argument with her and the defendant. Her vehicle was not struck. That accident had nothing to do with her.
Nothing.
She didn't get close enough, she stated, to smell any alcohol or the odor of alcohol on his breath. She just interjected herself in a situation.
They call it a busybody where I'm from.
Now, what she wants you to believe is that when Terry Robinson was speaking in the background and he said, "Go, go, 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 go," that meant for her to jump in her car, chase down Mr. Herring, block his car off, apprehend him, and detain him. And we know that's simply not true. Because what you hear on the 911 call with Mr. Robinson, the only thing he says, and the only thing he said was, "Take a picture of the tag."
That's now, all you had to do.
That take a picture of the tag means this.
See, that's what wannabe police officers are best doing. Taking a picture, reporting the facts to the authorities, and allowing the authorities who are well trained to take over.
And you also heard from Terry Robinson that the defendant was already in her vehicle. She was already in motion. She was already prepared to do what she felt she was supposed to do in this situation. And then you hear the 911 call. And you hear the 911 operator tell her, once they realize she's chasing Mr. Herring,
"Stop.
Ma'am,
stop.
We advise that you do not chase or follow."
Don't follow that lady.
And she said she understood 100%.
Don't be riding up on curves, risking people.
And you heard testimony from Ashley Jackson that she was speeding down Forest Parkway so fast, weaving in and out of traffic. I mean, she is chasing.
She was zigzagging.
Almost causing accidents, almost running other people off the road. And you heard the defendant say, "And when I finally caught up to him, I had an opportunity." Because in her mind, she was going to stop that vehicle by any means necessary. And she did. And it's unfortunate for Mr. Herring. And you also heard testimony of the rage she had, how angry she was, how aggressive she was. But when she stood on the stand, when she got on the stand yesterday, everything was so calm.
Everything's cool in the gang.
She has every answer, detailed, laid out, how she was just a people person. She was just trying to do things to help. She wanted to help all the other drivers on the road. And when I was asking her questions, she became very combative and aggressive. And it was always my perspective, what I thought. No, the 911 officer, our dispatcher did not tell me to not follow, not chase. Because she...
Yeah, down the road we'll do her cross examinations, because I always like do watching cross examinations by defendants. That's always been entertaining, and it doesn't happen that often. I wonder why. And she's actually gets she takes the stand on her own behalf, and what she does, and she doesn't realize it, is that when she's talking to her own attorney here, you know, it's always like it is there. It's always a little bit more of a friendlier environment when you're talking to your own attorney. Obviously, we get that. Um, but the drastic change is a little bit more than normal, and you'll get a chance to see it. You know, it happens all the time, but it is at such a degree that it is incredible. And she actually says that you know, that car wasn't blocking, it's just the wheels are turned in a certain direction. She didn't cut him off. It's just the wheels are turned to the right, and all that kind of goofiness like that.
She knows best. And at the end of that 911 call, after she shot Mr. Herring, her whole attitude, I'm safe, but he ain't.
You heard that part.
But she wants you to believe that she was concerned, and she wanted an ambulance, and she wanted to assist, and she wanted to help and make sure he was okay. She didn't care about Mr. Herring. The defendant had multiple opportunities to do something else, to go back to the incident location.
And I was, you know, I come back to this premise, this premise of this particular case, and it comes back to something. I guess they don't. I don't know what they teach in drive school now. I got my license a bunch of decades ago, but look, one of the things they taught me, and I do remember it, and it was specific, and I think we even spent like 2 hours on it, because we had all this extensive driving ed back in my day. So it was almost like 40 hours of a bunch of classroom. But one of the things they taught us was, you know, don't get in the car when you're emotional, when you're tired. You know, just if you're not, yeah, just don't do that. And I would say that obviously pertains to when you have firearms. Like, you know, why get yourself in a situation when you have a firearm that you're upset and mad? You know, that's probably not the time to have a firearm and then ride after somebody. That's a good clue. Don't do that.
To go back home, not pursue. This had nothing to do with her.
Nothing.
And the idea that she could command somebody to
Watch
do
this.
anything.
Watch this. This is a line classic. Watch this.
The only person that introduced a deadly weapon in this situation was the defendant. And but for her introducing that firearm, Mr. Herring would still be here today. You can't poke a bear, and then when the bear turns around and attack you, want to claim self-defense. It doesn't work that way. She should have minded her own business.
And not poke the bear for sure.
Now, this is the real reason we're here today.
It's a real case.
Now, the law doesn't allow us to talk about Mr. Herring's background and history and go into details about that. But there is no reason, absolutely no reason Mr. Herring shouldn't still be alive today.
That's for sure.
Preparing to spend the holidays with his family and friends.
It must have been near December. And he had
absolutely no reason.
He had like 20 20 needles in the
And
car.
but for the defendant's actions on May 7, 2019, he would be.
Yeah, I told you her whole body's tighter. Look at her legs down there. You can see her feet wound up. That lawyer, he can't take it. His hair's almost changing its
and all
texture.
of the evidence points to one conclusion.
He's starting to look like Don King with that guilty verdict showing up there. Look at it. Look at the lawyer.
Now, you won't be able to take back the videos and the audios, the 911 calls as you deliberate. But if you want to be able to listen to those again, to see them, just let the bailiff know, and we'll let you do that. But this isn't a complex case.
Nope. She should have stayed.
The defendant had no right
in her car
to do what she did.
Kept on driving, actually.
None.
And that's the face that you don't want to see. I need you to see that face, because the thing is like, if you remember that 911 tape when she was, you know, all out of pocket with that man in front of that car and all bold and all this and all that. Wow. As I look at that attorney's semi-profile there, I didn't know it was that stern. But that's the look. And the thing is when it's not just that it affects her, but it also affects her friends. Because these are real people, and this is real stories, and
so
this
I'm
is real life.
Ask that as you deliberate, that you find her guilty on each and every count in the indictment. Causing accidents, almost running other people off the road.
I just like that part when she said, "You don't get to poke the bear."
In that 911 call, the only person that introduced a bear.
There we go.
You can't poke a bear, and then when the bear turns around and attack you, want to claim self-defense. It doesn't work that way. Turns around, bear.
So yeah, I think that would be the way that I'm going to go out of here today. Joseph F. Price, I appreciate you guys. Please like and subscribe. We got some new stuff. We got stuff that's just going to keep coming if you like these types of things. You don't have to do any sifting or sorting. I'll do the best that I can to bring you some of the great stuff. So with that, from Georgia, the most eloquent words that I heard of 2024 so far, in a legal context, that is.
You can't poke a bear, and then when the bear turns around and attack you, want to claim self-defense. It doesn't work that way.
God bless you guys. Have a nice day. See you next time.